They especially do in the federal system. We in Nebraska are so used to this nonpartisan, unicameral, one-house system. You don't run as a Democrat or Republican, although we know that registration is public information. So, Mike Johanns is a Republican, even if I never ran for office. You can check that out. But in Washington, numbers are game changers. They tell you everything. If you tell me that at the end of the day there are 56 Democrats in the Senate and there are 44 Republicans, then I can tell you a whole bunch more. I can tell you that the majority leader will be elected by the majority party, not the minority, and he or she will determine what comes to the floor of the Senate. I can't go down to the Senate as an individual senator and say, Mr. President, I'm laying on the table here this bill to defund Obamacare, and this is what we'll be talking about this week. The majority leader controls that. And who's in the majority at the moment? People who voted for the bill and generally support the agenda of the president who likes this bill, who himself got reelected. The other thing I can tell you is that the majority on the committees will reflect the majority on the floor of the Senate. It just is what it is. Been that way since the country was founded. So the majority of the committees is going to be reflective of what the majority on the Senate floor is. Today I can tell you that every committee in the United States Senate and every subcommittee will reflect those identical numbers in the proportion in which we are asked to serve on those committees. I can also tell you that the chair of the committee will be from the majority. Why? Because when the committee votes, the majority elects one of their own. Not like here in Nebraska where we have Democrats who are chairing committees, we have Republicans who are chairing committees, and you know what? That's not that unusual here. That never happens in Washington. It just isn't the way it works. So when you talk to me about defunding Obamacare, I say to you, okay, how do we go about doing that? Somebody says, well, attach it to the continuing resolution and threaten to shut down the federal government if, in fact, this does not occur. So I said to myself, that's an idea. Let's research that and see what impact I have, if, in fact, that's what were to occur. Now, again, we don't have a majority. Is it likely to occur that that would pass? No. Is there any chance? No. I mean, the majority is what the majority is. We've only had these issues before us a lot of times. But let's say that somehow, some way, the sky opens and the sun shines and all of a sudden that bill passes out of the United States Senate. It will pass the House. The House is a different majority. Well, and let's say for some odd reason the president that day decides to sign the bill. Just keep in mind he is the veto man. And then it takes 2/3 to override it. Now, you're beginning to understand how remarkably implausible this is, but let's assume that all that happens. And I can come back here in 3 weeks and 4 weeks or whatever and say, all that happened. Well, we look at what impact it would have on the bill. The individual mandate will continue, notwithstanding what we do in the continuing resolution. The employer mandate, although delayed a year, will continue, notwithstanding what we do in a continuing resolution. The subsidies that are provided for in the bill will continue, notwithstanding what we do in a continuing resolution. The 26 million people who will go on Medicaid under this bill, well, Medicaid will continue, notwithstanding what we do in this continuing resolution. The taxes in this bill, and there's over $500 billion worth of taxes, will continue in this bill no matter what you do in the continuing resolution. So I come back here in a month and I say, remember when I told you we were going to defund Obamacare? And how pleased some of you were, maybe some Some of you hate that idea. Well, I'm sorry to report to you that all of those things that I just mentioned did not happen because of that action. And you say to me, well, then what the heck did you do? So I'm just going to be honest with you, that's what we're facing here. It is just the reality of what we are dealing with. Elections do have consequences. One of the consequences is this signature achievement of this current president is very close to taking effect. And I think it's a bad deal.